بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Continuing our discussion with regard towards understanding the Quran. Today we talk about Surah al-Fil, a chapter which means the elephant. Surah al-Fil, the chapter of the elephant. And this particular chapter comprises of 5 verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the people of the elephants? أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ. Has he not turned their plan into nullity? Has he not made their plan null and void? وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. And he sent upon them flying birds in flocks. تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ. Throwing upon them stones of baked clay. فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَعَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. And thus he turned them into an eaten up chaff. This particular surah refers to a story famously known as the story of the people of the elephants. So this group of people, they came as an army with the elephants for the purposes of destroying the Kaaba, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Makkatul Mukarramah. But their plan backfired and the divine scourge overtook them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed the army with a flock of ordinary birds, and thus their plans were foiled and brought to an end. Now, when did this event take place? This event, according to some scholars, took place in the very year in which the Prophet ﷺ was born in Makkatul Mukarramah. And this is the most popular view. There are other scholars who hold different opinions. If we look at a different aspect with regard to this, the question comes about as to what exactly is the story of the people of the elephant. So Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala, who is a leading authority on prophetic tradition as well as Islamic history, he recounts the story as follows. He says that Yemen was under control of the rulers of a place called Himyar. They were idol worshippers, and their last king was called Dhu Nawas. He was an idol worshipper himself. He was an outright enemy of the righteous Christians of his time who believed in and worshipped one Allah. And this person, Dhu Nawas, he continued persecuting believers who were opposed to idol worship by burning them alive. And most scholars agree that he killed in cold blood by throwing about 20,000 sincere and righteous Christians in his city into a large fire pit, burning them alive in an effort for them to give up their religion and come onto idol worshipping. This is the story of the people of the fire pit that had been referred to in the Quran itself, chapter 85, verses 4 to 7. From amongst these 20,000 sincere Christians, Ibn Kathir rahimullah mentions that two men somehow managed to escape from Dhu Nawas. They fled to Syria and took refuge with Caesar, who was himself a Christian and the emperor of Syria. They requested the emperor to avenge the cruel act of Dhu Nawas. And Caesar wrote to Najashi, Negus, the king of Abyssinia, which is now called Ethiopia, who was closer to the home of the man. Najashi sent two governors with him, Arbat or Arbat and Abraha, along with a huge army. The army invaded Yemen and freed the whole country from the possession of Himyar. Dhu Nawas tried to escape, but unfortunately, or rather, we should say, fortunately, he drowned in the sea and he died. Yemen thus became part of the Abyssinian dominion, and Abraha, who was sent by Najashi, he was the governor of Najashi, Abraha was appointed to be the viceroy of this particular land in Yemen. However, he and Arbat fought each other until Arbat was eventually killed and Abraha emerged victorious. Abraha was appointed the commander of the Abyssinian army in Yemen and the governor of that particular region. Having captured Yemen, he built a superbly luxurious cathedral in his area, and the purpose was to attract the people of Yemen to make pilgrimage to this area or to this cathedral instead of the Kaaba in Makkatul Mukarramah. It was huge, it was tall, that the person standing at the bottom was not able to see the top. He decorated the structure with gold, with silver, and other precious gems. In short, he meant it to be an architectural masterpiece, second to none, unsurpassed in the world, to be revered by all, and sundry and divert pilgrims from the sacred mosque in Makkatul Mukarramah should be drawn away from that and instead come to Yemen. And he did this after he had witnessed the love and enthusiasm of the Yemeni Arabs, which were the same as those felt all over the Arabian Peninsula, with the aim of making them forsake their attachment to Masjid al-Haram, the Kaaba, and turn instead towards his new luxurious cathedral. Thus he proclaimed throughout his kingdom that no one should ever visit the Kaaba in Makkatul Mukarramah, and that the pilgrimage should from now on take place to his so-called Kaaba in Yemen. Now, although the Arabs were idol worshippers, the love and reverence for the religion of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam in the Kaaba had permeated their hearts. As a result, the Adnan, Qahtan, and Quraysh tribes were enraged and infuriated by this proclamation of Abraham. One night, someone entered the church and defecated in it. According to other narrations, a nomadic tribe halted near the church and started a fire for their own needs. The wind on that day was blowing violently, and the cathedral of Abraha caught on fire and sustained much loss. When Abraha came to know about it and learned that a Qurayshi had done this, he swore to march to Masjid al-Haram in Makkah al-Mukarramah and destroy it stone by stone, so that none might prevent him from carrying out his mission. He asked for Najashi's permission. He permitted him and sent for him particularly for this expedition a special elephant whose name was Mahmud. It was unusually huge in size and powerful in strength, the like of which had never been seen before. The king of Abyssinia sent 8 more elephants as reinforcements for this particular army of Abraha, and their intention was to use these extraordinary elephants to demolish the Kaaba. And they planned to do this by fastening chains to the pillars of the Kaaba and placing the other ends around the neck of the elephants, and then they would make the elephants pull on them in order to tear down the walls of the Kaaba. Na'udhu billahi min dhalik. And when the Arabs heard about Abraha's expedition, they considered it their mortal obligation to defend the Kaaba and to rid the evil plans of those who had produced some conspiracies. Thus, the Arabs raised a large army under the command of a person called Dhu Nafr. He was a Yemenite Arab, and he called the Arabs to go to war against Abraha and fight in defense of the Kaaba, so that the enemy would be unable to tear it down. The people, however, responded to him readily and entered into battle with the enemy, but Abraha defeated them. And this was due to Allah's will that no human should protect the Kaaba, the house of Allah, and it was Allah's intent to expose the enemy to embarrassment and venerate the sacred sanctuary to the highest degree. Dhu Nafar was captured and taken as prisoner. Nonetheless, the army continued on its way until it came to the settlement of the Banu Khatham tribe. The leader, Nufail ibn Habib, led his entire tribe against the army, but they too were defeated by Abraha and his army, and Nufail was also taken prisoner. Abraha at first decided to kill him, but at second thought he forgave him, and took him as his guide to show him the way to Hijaz, to the lands of Makkatul Mukarramah. So, inshallah, we will continue this particular incident in the next lesson, and I hope to leave you in suspense so that you can tune into the next lesson to find out what eventually transpired with regard to Abraha and how the verses of Surah al-Fil fit into this particular incident. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the understanding of all the verses of the noble Quran as well as its message. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. This is proudly being brought to you by Muslim Online.